Welcome to the FISHWIVES Club Podcast. In this show, we will be chatting to leaders, influencers, wine producers, restaurants, international importers, and other role players in the wine industry, and many more. Tune in every week for our latest episode. You will find us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram TV, Spotify, Apple Podcast, and Google Podcast. Good day, everyone, and welcome to the FISHWIVES Club. Today, I'm speaking to Patrick Robertson, the CEO and the founder of the FISHWIVES Club. Welcome, Patrick, to the first FISHWIVES Club podcast. How exciting!
Very much so. Thank you very much, Will. Glad to be back.
So I'm so glad to have you here, and we've got a lot of things to cover today. So, it's a new podcast, so I need to ask you to explain to our listeners a quick background about yourself and also how you got involved in the wine industry.
No problem. It's a bit of a long story. I'll try and praise it and keep it really short, because you can find out a lot about that on the website, the story, and that is a rather longish story. My background basically is I spent over 30 years in advertising and building brands and launching brands and creating brands. And eventually, when I realized that my time was up and I needed to move out of the world of advertising, I had no idea what I wanted to do. And along came the lady on the fish as a mock-up drawing, and immediately I knew that this was something I needed to pursue. And I knew without any doubt in my mind or in my heart that this was it. I just didn't know how or what, but it was the flag that I needed to see. I like to call it the off-ramp of the highway. I needed to take the next off-ramp, and this was it. And no, I didn't know anything about wine at all, other than I loved wine and loved drinking wine and loved going to wine farms. I had no interest in wine other than those things. So that's how it started. It was started in 2012. So you could say that was the end of the world. For me, also, my whole advertising life and everything came crashing down, and my long-term 18-year relationship came crashing down, and she was my business partner as well in the advertising world. So I had to start again, and it was the end of the world for me, and 2012 was the beginning of a new one.
Well, that's awesome. So that's when you started the FISHWIVES Club in 2012?
2012, that's right. Yeah, I also moved from Johannesburg town back to Cape Town, and actually ended up going to my own, where I grew up, Hart Bay. It was the old fishing village, and it was sort of out in the sticks in those days, in the 70s, and grew up in the Hart Bay, the fishing village, and I guess it was just serendipity that it was a lady and a fish and fishing village and me coming home to start again. It was just quite interesting.
So, how did you start the FISHWIVES Club, or what was the first things you did?
Well, all I had was the lady on a fish, and I decided, well, I guess I'm going to need to speak to some wine farms and winemakers and find out if anybody's would be able to make me some wine. And I realized that I needed to make a wine brand for women. I just felt drawn to really focus on a target market. And I eventually, after much searching, my housemate and myself, my mate Ed and myself, we were sharing a house at that point, and we decided to go to all the wine estates and drink wine and talk to the winemakers and wine farm owners. And eventually, it was Baton Verwachten, the closest wine farm to my house, that actually agreed to say, and it was Lars Mark, the owner of Baton Verwachten, an amazing man with great vision, and said, "I love it. It's sexy. Let's do this." So they were the first to make my first bottle, which was Sauvignon Blanc, and I started with a Sauvignon Blanc, and I believed that Baker's Wagner was making the best Sauvignon Blanc in the valley, and I was lucky to get him on board and to help start it.
Amazing. So you started there, and can you tell us a bit more about your wine, the actual wines that you are making?
Now we have 5 cultivars. We have a Sauvignon Blanc, a Pinotage Rosé, beautiful Chardonnay, which is slightly wooded with an American maple wood contact. Then we have a Merlot and a Cab. The wine profile and the whole character of the wines, they needed to be not too heavy, not too light. It needed class and structure. So it needed to have some wood contact on some of the cultivars. It needed real great winemaking skill. And on a blind test, it needed to stand up, and it needed to be a front runner. And that's often happened with our blind tastings, not just the label. And so the idea was to make the wines very agreeable to the lady's sense of style and taste. So I called it the Goldilocks effect. It's not too little and not too much, and it's very easy to drink, but yet it's got a wonderful structure and character.
Okay, excellent. So these are the wines you're making at the moment, and selling them all over the world at the moment, right?
That's correct, yes.
Okay, excellent. And you're also launching a new canned wine brand. Can you tell us a bit more about this?
What I've had to rely on, starting in an industry that really I didn't know anything about, really meant I had to rely on my intuition, because I didn't have any knowledge. I never studied anything, and I didn't have any previous experience. So the way I conduct the brand and the way I'm building the brand is very, very intuitive. And so what came to me was, and it was about a few years ago, I really started to feel that we needed to have something that was disruptive in the wine category. We needed something that, because the wine business is very conservative. It hasn't changed much in 100 years. The biggest change was and caused an uproar was screw cap, which seemed to be sacrilegious. But look at it now, and I realized that we needed a new format, something that the youngsters would enjoy, that people who enjoyed wine but didn't want to get caught up in the history and culture could easily enjoy, and make it more convenient and less conservative and clunky. And that's when I started looking into the idea of cans. And then once I started doing some investigating, I found I wasn't really alone. I think I saw America was pioneering some of that stuff as well, but only a few were brave enough to do it. And then I really got a bee in my bonnet, and I realized, look, we've got to do cans. We've got to do cans. And it was very difficult to try and convince people, and particularly winemakers, that the canned idea was a good one. It's just about timing. Like any idea, it needs the right timing. It's not so much the idea, whether an idea is good or not. It's the timing of the idea. And I believe that timing is now. We need a category disruptor. And I think the canned wine brands, canned wine line will create a whole new category.
Well, it seems
Sorry,
like...
I've got on the farm here, we've got the weed eaters going crazy in the background, so I apologize.
I think our listeners will be happy to know that you are on a farm, and that there's workings in the background, because as we've just said, the FISHWIVES Club is a brand under construction, so we're always working, right? So don't apologize about that. You mentioned to me earlier that something about the growth of the canned wine market in the United States. Can you explain a bit about that?
Well, if you look at it now, statistically, it's recorded upwards of 50-something, 53% to 56%. Don't quote me. It's around the 50% increase in sales over the last year or two, and it's just growing. Demand is growing. The convenience of a perfect pour servings, which I call the 250 ml that we have our wines coming out, is there's the massive growth, and I think it's easier for people to buy a can of wine than it is to maybe commit to a whole bottle. Also, it allows you to I guess, control your consumption visually, but it's very, very convenient. But in America, I think they're much more open to new things, and hence the rise in canned wines there. And I think South Africa will take a while to catch on. We're a bit Calvinistic in that sense, and we're very traditional. So, and we have a very small market locally. So it will take a while for consumers to come around, but I think the youngsters, the millennials, and so on and so forth, that new market probably will be the early adopters of cans.
Very interesting. Tell me, Patrick, when are you shipping your first cans?
We are hoping to complete production end of August, but now with the second lockdown on alcohol sales, that might push it out another month or two. It's very, very difficult to now peg a date with the government keeping on moving the goalposts. And I'd like to take this opportunity to say that the wine industry really needs support at this point because we're not getting it from the government. And that's very, very sad to see because they want to talk about solidarity. Well, in my book, you walk the talk, you don't just talk the talk. And so far, I see no solidarity from the government, nor any assistance. So the wine industry is having to really fight for its life here in South Africa. We have a rich and wonderful tradition of winemaking and incredible wine brands and wine farms. So this is for the whole wine industry of South Africa. It's really thrown more than a few spanners in the works, and actually it's really, really serious. And I think that we need to all pull together and support our industries and support our homegrown South African businesses, because again, it looks like we're on our own. And if one thing we South Africans do well is pull together and make something work under the most dire of conditions, regardless of what our government does. We need to back ourselves. The entrepreneurs need to back themselves. The business need to back themselves. We need to back each other. And I think we'll come through this if we can do that.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think also, Patrick, you can still ship overseas, right? So, are you planning any can shipments internationally?
Yep, we are fortunate to be 99% export focused. Again, the COVID-19 epidemic has meant that the docks are literally two weeks behind schedule on anything. So there's just delays after delays from the ship side, which is very frustrating for clients who are importing wine brands from South Africa.
Well, hopefully this will all blow over time, and I'm sure this will come right. But now to some other big news. I mean, you have some big news in that you are launching what you are calling the fabulous FISHWIVES Club merchandising company. Can you tell us a bit more about this and what people can get and where they can get this merchandise?
Absolutely, Will. I think what's really important for a brand is to be able to extend itself into the social environment and to become more a part of the consumer's life and the fans of that brand. There aren't many brands I can just think of off the top of my head where you would want to wear the merchandise of that wine brand, or many brands, in fact, for that matter, would you want to wear them. But this brand seems to have a wonderful artistic magic that really is breathtakingly beautiful. Besides the fact that the wines are extraordinary quality, the brand itself lends itself to merchandising line and other touch points like branded scatter cushions where you can collect all the labels. The labels are all original art. I have them commissioned from scratch. So one artist will do the ladies, another artist does the fish. It's quite a production process, and it's literally original art all the way through from beginning to end. And I think that energy wants to live in multiple environments, hence the merchandising. And so we're going to look at branded T-shirts, brand caps, but also interesting things like being the first to produce ladies' handbag cooler bags that actually look really beautiful and feminine, rather than these sort of wine cooler bags that look like they were designed for men going on a holiday at a caravan site. They're not very consumer friendly, and they particularly don't cater for women. So we want to open up an opportunity where we can extend the brand into beautifully handmade things, carrying the brand, all associated with social interaction, having lunch with friends, having them around to your house, and anything that's connected where the Fishwives Club quality can be translated into things like table runners, scatter cushions, t-shirts, vests, etc. And we're very excited to launch this. Not only that, it helps our importers and their buyers sell on that merchandise to their fans and the consumers and customers who want to buy the Fishwives Club wines. It's a wonderful way to build the brand in a different environment. So we think that there's going to be our importers and their buyers will find a very positive traction with the merchandising company, working alongside them, helping them sell the brand into their country.
Oh, interesting. So your buyers would be able to get the merchandise and provide it to their customers. Would customers be able to? Would you be also have a platform or something that would sell direct to consumer?
Absolutely, we think this is very vital. Our importers and their buyers are in the business of distributing and stocking the wine bars, the restaurants, etc. with our brand. Their focus is not on the merchandising. So in order for them to help them with promotions, the merchandising is fantastic because they can put deals together and putting in merchandise with the deal, with the wine buying deal. But for the customer and the end customer, it must be very easy for them to simply go online, go, oh, I love this wine, I'd love to see what else they've got, go online, choose out of a beautiful shop window of handmade, beautifully quality made goods, and click a button, and the merchandise will arrive at their house.
Oh, awesome! I think that is going to be very popular. I've seen some of your merchandise, and it's great. Apologies for the interruption, but the powers to be at the Fishwives Club just called to remind me to tell you that you could win some of the first Fishwives Club cans in the world. The first ever production run will be available at the end of August, and this is sure to be a collector's item. It's simple. Just click on the link in the description, add your name and email address, and you could be the lucky winner of 24 cans, 12 Sauvignon Blanc and 12 Pinot Noir Rosé. Don't wait, it's free to enter. Like I said, the link is in the description. Now, on with the show. So, Patrick, this podcast is also the launch of the Fishwives Club media company. So, why did you decide to go into the media business?
Well, it's more, again, a progression of the brand, and what came about was, how do we help our importers and their buyers sell more? How do we assist them so that they can take this brand, which sells already very, very well on its own? How do we give them all the power of the brand, and highlight them as a buyer, because they're the ones buying the most of the wines. And so the idea of the media company is to actually champion our importers who exclusively distribute and import the wines into their respective countries, and their clients who are buying the wines from them. So the idea is to highlight and put on social media all these wonderful restaurants on the coast and all the different wine bars and the little wine shops that are stocking this incredible brand. We want to make them famous, put them on the map, so that they can be seen, and we can help them with success and put their brand on the map as well. Because the way I look at it is, I've coined this phrase Ubuntu capitalism, because I think that that's really the only way that we can all win. And the idea is, it's in our DNA as brand. There must not be just one winner. We both win, or we don't do it at all, because that's not how we do business, and that's not how we want to work. So the idea is, we win when we win together, and it's right up there with what we are front and center with what we want to do, and that is help you become successful at what you do, and also put you in the spotlight, put your business in the spotlight, because that way, when you're winning, I know that I'm winning too, and vice versa. And I think it just was a natural progression to find a way. It's almost like a pay it forward, but there's more to it than that. And the idea is that we can both win by putting you in the spotlight on social media channels. And it made sense that we actually invest time and whatever it takes to to get this working really, really beautifully. And so that's what we're also embarking on at the same time as launching the merchandising company.
So this is amazing. So if I understand it correctly, we're going to actually podcast and promote all the businesses and restaurants that are involved with the Fishwives Club, and maybe even some other guys that are not.
Absolutely.
And just that way get the name out there.
They've got stories as well. How did they start? Everyone has a story. You don't just start and then things go easy. You start and that's when things go really, really tough. Things get really tough, and eventually you've got to survive. And these we would love to tell the stories of our buyers and our importers, how they've survived and how they're working and what they're doing and how they're changing up their game in order to win, in order to stay relevant. And I think that this channel is something that we all need. It's the tonic that I think right now, globally, we need to work together and help each other win. And that's how we'll survive anything that is thrown at us. Given we're seeing it now, unprecedented global epidemic. This is going to test us, and this is where when going gets tough, the tough do get going.
I love this concept of Ubuntu capitalism and the way you're working. So what is your long-term vision for the Fishwives Club?
It's really simple. My long-term vision is that we will make this brand the most recognizable wine brand in the world. I think it's possible. I wouldn't be doing it.
So that's an amazing vision. So, Patrick, thank you very much for being the guest on the first Fishwives Club podcast. I mean, nobody else could be the guest. And if people want to get hold of the Fishwives Club, they're listening to this, how do they get hold of you? How do they get hold of the Fishwives Club and get involved with the business?
Go to our website at www.thefishwivesclub.com. So it's thefishwivesclub.com or .co.za. You can email me directly from there, and you can see everything you need to know about it on the website. And it's a very interesting website, and you can get hold of us directly from there.
Thank you, Patrick. Appreciate your time, and it was a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you so much, Will.
Thank you for listening to today's show. Please subscribe to get the latest episodes. All the links are in the description. Have a great day. Cheers.